Welcome to the Don't Let That Go Over Your Head podcast, starring Q the Boss.
Yo. Welcome back to another episode of Don't Let That Go Over Your Head podcast. They call me Q the Boss. Oh, we getting right into this topic. Govs is coming off today. Today we are fighting. I know some people going to get their feathers ruffled. Some people's going to get upset. Some people might learn something, which I'm praying that everyone sits there and not get in their feelings, but they get in their logic. Today we're talking about, are you a good parent? Are you a good parent? Somebody's going to get very offended because I would like to believe that everyone thinks that they're better parents than they actually are. The one thing I like to acknowledge, and I want to say this before we're getting started, the worst thing a parent can do is yell at their child and disrespect their child and then send their child to someone else to watch them, such as school. Imagine cursing at your mate before they go to work and expecting them to have a good day at work. That is the same premise. So when you look at a kid, the parent says, oh, you this, you're that, and then they send the kid to school and you wonder why your child had a bad day today. Because you already started the day off talking negative into the child. A lot of us don't speak life, we speak death when we talk to our children. We speak negative. We're not allowing our children to be comfortable with even though they messed up, but say something more so like, I'm very disappointed with you. I really don't value how you made me feel. Take yourself out yourself for a minute and talk to your child with understanding of logic, right? Look at this narrative. I talk to my child like, I'm very disappointed in you, not you're dumb, not you're slow. Right? These are some of the conversations that people, how they talk to their children. Because I realize that there are a lot of parents who project how they feel about themselves onto their children. Because you're not happy, so guess what? You don't want your child to project their happiness because you're unhappy, which is sad. Children are sponges. They absorb whatever you pour into them. And they're regurgitating basically everything you pour into them. So sometimes when you see the child, you're seeing the parent. You're seeing the environment they come from. You see the mentality that's in their home. Because sometimes I don't have to see the mother and father, but I can see the kid and see the mother and father. It's the truth. A lot of aggressive parents create very aggressive children or hypersensitive children. So two things can come out of that premise. A very hypersensitive kid can come from a hyper-aggressive parent. Because sometimes they become very timid. And when you a timid child, you tend to create a child that is scared to project how they talk and feel. So they become very shy and insecure. But by speaking life into your child, you're creating security, right? Telling your child that you're great. Telling your child that you could be more. Telling your child that I believe in you and know that everything that you are, but today you made me very disappointed with you because I expect more. I expect more. There's nothing wrong with that premise, but it's how you speak because you can get the same message across without disrespecting somebody. You can get the same message across without disrespecting somebody. A father and mother are legal terms to show the relation to a child, but it's an earned title. Some people believe this because they signed birth certificates and they had sex, that makes them a parent. But it's a learned job on how to sustain and maintain it. I always ask people, how can you be the best parent when you don't come from a great parent? The only way to negate or to change your thoughts on how you parent is by learning. How do you learn? You read more. You educate yourself by going environments that allow you to elevate as a parent, a mother, or a father. I think that is the greatest premise of life, when a person can go around someone and learn from them, right? You cannot say, you know what, the generational trauma that you come from, you're projecting it onto your child. You can pass it on without even trying to pass it on. Think about it. You ever see a person that every other word they say is a curse? When you meet the mother and father, every other word is a curse. And then you wonder why this kid cursed so much. Because I'm going to tell you something. Your kid may not do it in front of you, but when they're with their friends, they're exactly who you are. They can't even speak without a curse. Because this is how kids operate. They learn what they learn. I like to say the statement, we're creatures of habit. We're definitely creatures of habit. So I'm asking everybody in my life, are you really a good parent? You can say you're a good parent, but that don't mean you're a good parent. I watched two parents have a child separate, right? And one of the children, the child always runs to the parent that always gives them their way. And the child is in competition with the parent so much that all they do is allow the child to run to them, and because it becomes a competitional thing. Not a cohabitating or working together thing. It's, I want to outperform your father. I want to outperform your mother. You can clearly see that you're not a great parent. Because it's not outperforming, it's raising a productive person by working together. It took two to make a child, so it should take two to raise a child. It took two to make this child, so it's gonna take two to raise this child. A mom and dad are titles that are earned. They're easy titles to earn if you already are. There are some people that don't understand what being a parent is. You cannot come from work and the first thing you're looking to do is pour the energy of how you felt a rough day on your child. Let me say that again. There are people that go to work and come home and take that energy out on their child because of how their boss might have made them feel. Your boss made you feel bad. So look how you're going to talk to your child. If you sit some kids down and ask them how your parent talked to you, you'll be disgusted. You're creating this mentality. So guess what? I'm going to take it out on my teacher. I remember years ago, and I'm going to say this on record, right? When having certain conversations, you might get into it, say with your mother. And your mother might get mad at you and say something very, very insulting, which can literally emasculate a man or a boy because of your words. You might have said something that's emasculating to a boy or even a man. So what happens is this boy goes to the world looking for their manhood because they just might have lost their manhood by something someone said to them. So just look at that narrative. That boy went out to school the next day and had a fight because of emasculation that the mom might have said to him. But we've normalized the way we talk to our children, right? To the point where our children are normalized talking into society that way. Think about how negative children are to adults. Because those children get negative feelings from their adults and they only project it onto next adults because they cannot say it to their parents. There is no way a child should look at an adult and curse at him like it's nothing. That is a teaching. Because I grew up in a generation that was scared of someone calling my mother. So I always believed that you treated the adults how you wanted someone to treat your mother. But it's a competitional thing. You got a bunch of people that's in competition with trying to be parents. We're not working together. Ladies and gentlemen, let me say this on record. Baby and a kid don't make you a good parent. Teaching a child a false reality in the real world don't make you a good parent. Lying to a kid and making them believe that they're the king and queen of the world is not a good parent, right? I understand you pouring into their confidence, but you could also create a child to be delusional. You can raise your child to be delusional and understand that the world is not going to cater to every little thing you feel is wrong. The world doesn't care every time you cry to believe that I have to pick you up. Because I'm going to tell you something. The best thing you can teach a child how to do is self-reflect, right? Self-reflect so they can self-project, meaning self-healing. Okay, I'm hurting right now, but let me learn how to deal with this feeling, right? We're not being in my feelings, but thinking logical. Saying, you know what? Maybe you need to take a walk for a second. Maybe you need to go sit in your room for a second and assess why. Because sometimes, I hate to say this, sometimes parents give our kids consequences for things they did, but they don't sit a child down and explain to them why. I think that is the best thing you can do. So I put you on punishment because of this. I did this to you because of this. Because life has, for every action has a reaction. But in order to a child's mind to understand the reaction has to be explained. But if we don't explain the reaction, you're going to automatically assume that it was just an action. Because children don't process information the same way adults do. This is the reason why you see so many adults who are still in their fetus stage, because society, which is the society that they come from at first, is their environment, right? That environment did not prepare them to be fully equipped when they got into the real world. So this kid only walks around still behaving like the grown child. Because it is easier for them to stay in a child's place than it is to become an adult. You have to walk your child into maturity, right? You have to walk them into maturity. That's like hypothetically not teaching your child how to properly clean themselves, and then when your child start having their menstrual, they're nasty with it. Why they're nasty? Because you never prepared them when they was a child. I'm being fair and honest. Think about it. If you teach your child how to maturely clean themselves, when they finally get their menstrual, they'll be very mature about cleaning themselves. But a dirty child will become a dirty adult. A nasty child will become a nasty adult. A rude kid will become a rude adult. There are always exceptions to every rule, but most rules are the rule. There's black, white, and gray, but most cases, you'll see more black and you'll see more white than you'll see in the gray. There's always a gray area in everything, right? So I'm asking this question today. Are you a good parent? Are you a good parent? Life lessons from a mom. I think these are life lessons that every mother should instill in a child. Number one, be kind. Being kind. I think every parent should teach their child the sensitive side. So when I hear men say they don't have no femininity, I'm like, that's not true. A mother needs to teach you how to be sensitive, right? I think a mother needs to teach a man how to be sensitive. You can't walk around the world Hercules every 2 seconds, mad at the world and thinking you can lift up everything. What is that? I'm Hulk. Get out of here. A mother should teach you how to be kind. A mother should teach you how to be kind, right? A mother should teach you how to help others, how to be sensitive and caring towards others, right? Living life with a grateful heart, meaning being appreciative, being grateful for everything you have. That's one great quality a great woman will always have and will always instill in their children, right? Teaching you to laugh often. Laugh. Everything is not that serious. Everything is not intense, but we intensify everything, right? Being independent. Listen, I need you to tie your shoes even if they look bad, because eventually the more you tie your shoes, they'll start looking better. But if every time your child's shoe comes unlaced, what happens? You tie it. And every time you tie it, the child will always look for somebody to tie their shoe. A minute ago, before we went on live, I asked my group, I said, at what age, and I'm asking everybody in my live, at what age should a child know how to make up a bed? At what age? Someone want to chime in, they can chime in. At what age, guys, should a child learn how to make up a bed? I'm asking my guys on my live right now. Someone says 7. Okay. Someone said 7. Let me see some more. Someone said 6. Someone said 3. Someone said 4. Someone said 4 to 5. Someone said 7. Someone said 6. You know why I asked this question? Right? I'm gonna go with an age range between 6. That's what the number that I've seen the most, right? 6. That's the average. I would say the average number I've seen the most is 6. Here's my question. If 6 is an age a child can learn how to make a bed, how come you have adults who still can't make a goddamn bed? Why? Because this was not taught to them as a child who became an adult, still not knowing how to behave like an adult. Someone said lazy. Some people aren't lazy. They just don't know how to do it. I met grown-ups who don't even know how to wash their own clothes. I know adults who don't know how to wash their own clothes. So are we failing our children is the question. Are we failing our kids? Because you believe that one day they're going to wake up and mature to the point where they're going to be willing to do something that was never taught to them. That is a delusional parent. A child is going to do exactly what you taught them. You have kids right now who are having a hard time with adulting because they was having a hard time with being a child. So this adult child will remain an adult child. Big old woman, big old man who can't do anything for their own results. Why? Because they're always looking for someone to accommodate their behaviors. Life lessons of a dad. Work ethic is a major thing. If your father don't work hard, then you ain't got no father. I'm sorry. Someone gonna get offended. If your father don't work hard, that man ain't no man. I'm sorry. I think every man should work hard. Every man. I don't care if you're in school. I don't care if you're furthering life, education, job. You should always work hard, right? Work ethic should be instilled in you from both parents. But I think your father should be instilling in you the work ethic. Get up every day and do what you have to do for your family. Get up every day and do what you have to do for your family. There are days where I don't want to get up, but if someone has to get up first, it will always be me. I'm going to say that on record again. There are days I don't want to get up, but I am the first to get up because I will always make sure I'm the first to make sure my family's in a better position. God made us physically more stronger than women for a reason. So I'm not going to have my woman on the roof doing grunt work. I'm sorry. Call it what you want. And this is not me being a male chauvinistic pig. It's me being a logical man. I'm not having my woman in the yard digging trenches. Sorry. I'd rather hire another man to help me do it. You understand? We're talking logic, right? Another thing a man should teach you is respect for others, right? Making sure you know how to talk to another man or a woman. This is a teaching. When a child sees how you behave with the mother, the child will project how you talk to your mother. If a kid see you disrespect his mother, more than likely that kid is going to go out and disrespect women. Did you hear that statement? So you can't say, you know what? You know the most scariest thing I see, and I want y'all to hear this? When you see a man who don't believe that he should marry a woman, but has a daughter and don't want someone to marry their daughter. They want someone to marry their daughter, though. Listen to that statement, where a man will have a child with a woman, not marry her, but doesn't believe that I should marry her and show my daughter that she should be married. I know men right now who don't want their kids to have a baby out of wedlock, but they done it. And they will continue to do it. But again, this is the lack of example. You're supposed to be the example. You can't sit there and say you gotta do this, do that, but you're not showing me. I think the best thing a human can do is show you by example rather than talk. Because actions will always speak louder than words. Your words can be misconstrued or misunderstood, but if I see you do something, I will learn how to do it. I'm watching you do it in real time. If I tell you to go take the engine out of the car, you ain't gonna know how to do it. But if I show you how to take the engine out of the car, you will know how to take the engine out of the car. Actions always speak louder than words. We gotta teach our children how to respect others. You have kids who talk to adults talking about, what's up, bro? Who the hell are you talking to? I know boys that talk to women like that. I know women that talk to men like that. Bro, what are we doing here? What is going on with the parenting? We keep pointing the finger at the youth, but we're not seeing that we're the problem also. Because you have grandma who don't want to be grandma no more. She want to be grandma. You have mom who still wants to be young as hell. That's the problem. And that's all cultures across the board. That's white, black, blue, and green. There are white women that don't want to grow up. There are black women that don't want to grow up. There are Hispanic women that don't want to grow up. You got a grandma at 45 talking about, call me grandma, or mama, or anything else in between. She don't want to grow up. Sorry, the fact that you had a child and your child had a child, that makes you a grandparent. Sorry, the fact that you had a kid and your kid had a kid, that makes you a grandparent. Don't shoot the messenger. But I think that's called logic, right? Another thing a man should teach his children is, and a good parent should teach their kid, is family first. When you see broken family structures, it's sad when you see somebody get married and create another broken family structure. Yo, I had to tell a guy the other day, I said, wrong or right, no matter what my girl mother do, I will never, ever disrespect her, no matter what. In the same way I expect my woman to be with my mother, right? Because I'm going to tell you something. The respect for your elders says volumes about you, right? When you can bite your tongue for an adult, that means that you are very respectful and responsible. Because one day you will be that bitter older person too, and someone's going to disrespect you the same way. And it's going to be your child's boyfriend, it's going to be your child's girlfriend. And you're going to look back in that mirror and I'm like, it doesn't feel good when the mirror's back in your face, huh? Sometimes as adults, they can be very stubborn. And we're going to admit it. Parents can be very stubborn. But in the same breath, I will never, ever in my life disrespect someone older than me. I can't show nobody right now, they'll be like, yo, you disrespect elders. Never. You know what my disrespect is? I'll walk the hell away. That's my disrespect. That's as far as it's going to go. I might say my piece, but when I see it start getting to that level, I'm going to walk away. because I will believe in respecting my elders. I will always be that person, right? I'm the type of person that blend families, right? I'm that kind of person because I see how expensive life is to the point where it doesn't make sense where everyone is not working together. Financially, it just doesn't make sense. You have people who are trying to figure out life, struggling, but don't believe that the family structure should be first. The number one thing a human can create is a family. And when a man is about to pass on his last name, if he did not build himself up to the point where a woman can feel comfortable receiving his last name, he is still not a man, he is a little boy. Think about it. You're taking on someone's last name. You're giving away your daddy or mom's last name to take on someone else's last name. That means I should give the value here to the point where you feel confident to take my last name. Would you guys agree? I think that's very common sense. I want my daughter to respect my last name so much that she might want to hyphenate it. She might be Brown, whoever. But that says volumes about the father. Sometimes people don't want to let go of the last name because of how valuable their parent was to them. It's deeper than anything. I want you to speak on that, matter of fact, since you just did that. Go ahead.
All right. So, yeah, my dad passed away when I was 11 of cancer, but I only have mostly positive memories of him. Like, he was old. Like, he was 49 when I was born, but he was on a men's league and he played basketball and he was a civil engineer. So he had a very, like, steady, stable, like, well-paying job and provided for me. And I was able to go to science camps and basketball camps and I did ballet and I was able to do all these things. And he was also like, he was a man and I respected him and, like, he had a certain level of discipline that he instilled in me, but he also had that, like, playfulness that's great to have in a dad. Like, he would literally, like, lay down and play Barbies with me, like, get on my level and, like, play with me. And so I just have so many amazing memories of the man that he was. And so I feel very much like I want to keep his last name. So I have a partner now, a fiance, and, you know, we've had discussions about this. I think I'd want to hyphenate or keep the name and he take that name if he's okay with that. I don't think he's going to be okay with that because I get that, like, a man wants to retain his name, you know,
Yes.
like, that's part of the man's ego. And, but yeah. So
But the memories of your dad is so prominent.
Yeah, he was
What's your dad's name?
excellent dad. Steven.
Let's give it up for Stephen, guys. And I'm going to say this, and it's going to be the first time she hears this. I pray that my daughter look at me the way you look at Stephen. And I'm saying that to the bottom of my heart. I pray my daughters look at me the way you look at Stephen. Amazing man. Amazing. And he raised her amazing daughter, guys. Amazing girl, bro. Let's give it up to her. Wow. But when you realize how much someone wrote legacy, and I agree with that statement, because when you realize what the impact you play on parenting, you see just by that statement, right? You can have good memories and you can have bad memories. She speaks so highly of her dad because her dad was a dad. He was a father. He was a man. He was someone that wanted his children to know him. And to this day, how long he's been gone?
20 years.
20 years, and look at every memory still very vivid. Amazing. Amazing, amazing. You know, and it's amazing because when you learn as a parent, we impact our children so much to the point where I know people right now that have lost parents, right? Her dad. In the same breath, she speaks so highly of her father that I would never touch that sensitive topic because I know how valuable and how much her father mean to her. You know what I'm saying? But this is what we have to understand, guys. We are raising people who will go on and be people. In most cases, they will be us. Because when you don't want to sound like it, you gotta sound like your parent when you become a parent, guys. Sometimes I be sounding like my mom. I'm like, damn, I sound like my mother. I remember one time I said something to my daughter, I promise you, my mother came out of me. I walked away laughing and laid in the bed. I said, that's crazy. I just said something my mother used to say to us all the time. But I realized that they play a part on us. They're teaching us, right? And I genuinely believe, and let me say this, and I want everybody in my life, whether you lost your parents or still have your parents, I don't think you lose your parent, I think you gain an angel, someone watching over you. Since the beginning of time, they used to always talk about spirits and people looking after people and watching over them. I genuinely believe that wholeheartedly. I think where there's someone that loves you past is only somebody that's guarding you and protecting you. I think that's amazing. Amazing. But I say this with conviction. We're going to get back further, guys. Key signs to a good mother. Number one is unconditional love. Unconditional love. One thing I do love about my women, I got to say this, a mother's love will never waver. Never waver. But the one thing we got to admit that men and ladies, we got to change this thing. Let me say why. Men naturally gravitate more towards their daughters. Women naturally gravitate more towards their sons. So sometimes when a woman has a son, she spoils her son, especially when she's single. Her son becomes like a husband to her. And when he becomes a husband to her, he becomes very entitled, right? And then sometimes you have a dad who dates his daughter. What I mean by dating his daughter is he over-coddles, he over-spoils to the point where the standards are just too high. I will never, ever look at a woman and say, I'm competing with your father. Because I don't think no man could ever love my daughter more than me. I don't believe it. Because if a person asks me, would you die for your daughter, I would do it in 2 seconds. I think a man will think first, assess the situation. And if he do it, then he'll do it. But a parent, now do that right now. Let's get it done. In most cases, I think there are people that will give their life on the line for their mate. But they would think about it first. But a father, a real mother, a real father, that is not even a question. It's instinct. I watched the video. Whether it's true or not, it impacted me. The father had a kidney the kid needed. And he was willing to give it, knowing that he was going to be very sickly. But he said, I gave you me so you can live to be older than me. And when I talk about it almost made me cry, I can only imagine being in that situation to make that kind of decision. It's like, wow. He was willing to give himself to give his child life. And that's what makes a good parent a good parent. When we say unconditional love, it's showing consistent and unwavering love for your child, regardless of their behavior and circumstance. Notice that statement, Ball, regardless of their behavior and circumstance. I remember one time a lady told me, she said to her kid right in front of me, you so dumb. And I looked at her and said, damn, he you, so that means you dumb too. She got offended. She got offended. Well, last time I checked, genetics are real. No, he get it from his daddy's side. Don't try to take all the good things and give it to you and all the bad things to the opposite sex. Men do it, women do it. I find that to be weird. Your child is a bowl of you. I always use the analogy of a slice of a pie of pizza. If I cut the pizza down the middle and I separate it, is the pizza whole? The pizza won't be whole, right? But if I bring the pizza back together, will it be whole? That's what happens when a child is separated from half of themselves. They spend a lot of time, it still looks like that side, but it don't know itself. So sometimes it don't know how to behave. When you secure a child and they know themselves, they're more aware of themselves to the point where they make better and conscious decisions. It is naturally proven that two parents are more successful with raising children more than one parent. And the reason being is because a child is influenced by what they consider a man if that man wasn't there. Think about it. Most women that come from broken fathers make poor decisions when it comes to men because they never saw one. She don't have an example of what to compare it to. Of course you think the BMW is the best car if you never drove anything else. But once you drive something else, you realize, wait, there's competition out here. But if you saw a great man or a great woman, you tend to choose to always choose something that's equivalent to what you started with. I got to ask you this question. Take the mic for a second, kids. I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to answer this, right? You are an engaged man, right?
Yes, I am.
How long you been engaged?
2.5 years.
2.5 years. How long y'all been together?
Close to 8.
Close to 8 years. My next question is, what qualities did your mother teach you growing up that you look for when you was looking for a mate?
Someone who was fiscally responsible.
And what do you take, Jessima? Is she?
She's very fiscally responsible.
What else?
Someone who can clean up after themselves.
Is she?
Yes, she does.
Keep going.
Someone who knows that when push comes to shove, that they're gonna have my back.
Does she?
Yes, she does.
You know the one thing I see with your mother and your fiance?
What?
They both speak their mind. Yo, one thing I love about his fiance, guys, she will always speak up for herself. His mother's the same way. Kim ain't losing no battle, bro. You're going to have to prove to her beyond a reasonable doubt that you're right. And Jessima's the same way. Let's give it up for them guys. But what I'm getting at is you start learning certain things. I'm going to tell you something weird, right? Watch this. My mom is very, very caring. Very caring. My mother's very, very family-oriented. Very family-oriented. My mother is very, very honest. Very honest. When you look at what you come from, that's what you usually attract. Sometimes when you don't know yourself, you don't know what to attract because you don't know yourself. So what I'm getting at is by helping our children learn themselves, it's more conscious that they'll choose better mates. I got to use this story. I'm sorry. I don't care if you get mad. One time, I love this story. So one day, at least we're in the car, and we're riding out to Wind Edge. That's a place in guys where we live at. There's a town. So we're in the car. This is the first time I was really meeting my little brother's fiance. I didn't really know her like that. I knew her, but I didn't know her like that. So while we're riding in the car, I told him, as soon as we came in, I said, I'm going to test her a lot. I'm going to see what's up with her. I want to know who she is. So he goes, all right, no problem. He said, just so you know, she bites back. She barks back. And I said, me too. I don't give a damn. Right? So I get in the car. We're riding. So I said, Jessima, so what is your intentions for Kenzie? She goes, no, I love him. He's a good guy, blah, blah, blah. There came a point where I wanted to make sure, and this is the one thing I tell anybody, a healthy relationship is supporting whether good, bad, or indifferent. When you take wedding vows, it says for better or for worse. It says through thickness and thin, through healthy or not. It says all of that. Those statements that you make in a vows, that is vows that I got you no matter what we go through. When you take those vows, when a person is willing to take those vows serious, she told me those vows before she even took the vows with you at an altar. She said it. And I said, damn, afterwards, we walked in the house, you were behind us. I said, yo, I like her. I like her a lot. When she said, no matter what he goes through, I'm going to be there for him. I said, I feel comfortable knowing my little brother found his wife. The Bible, and I know y'all not too heavy in the Bible, but the Bible says a man that finds a wife finds a good thing. That's what it says. There are things that in that book that very so make sense in life. That I don't tell people to take it wholeheartedly, but there are things that says amazing things. It says a man that finds a wife finds a good thing. So I'm telling you, Braz, your brother, I love the selection you made. She's annoying as hell, but I love her. But guys, you got to understand that this is what you're taught, right? When you see some guys, they're very insecure. I wonder why, because no one allowed them or taught them how to be secure. Security is a teaching. For instance, when you first start playing sports, initially you're scared of competition because you've never went through competition. But the more you play competition, the more comfortable you become with competition. Even in the beginning, you're still going to be a little fearful, but it becomes like riding a bike, right? But if we don't help our children get to the point where they're confident, this is why so many young people walk around here mad at the world. They lack confidence. Why do you think so many of them look alike and dress alike and act alike? Because they don't have no individuality anymore. Because individuality is not looked at as a good thing anymore. It's looking like keep up with everybody and look like everybody else. They look like little clones. But I think when you have a kid that's comfortable in expressing himself, right, I think it's amazing. I love Tyler for his uniqueness. I think he will literally wear whatever he feels like wearing. And I think that's dope because for a young guy to feel that confident to go in any room, that's an amazing person. But a lot of people that become adults, they be scared, right? And you know the number one reason why I want to tell you why most adults fail in life? Most adults fail in life because they lose the inner child that kept them motivated. When that little kid that's in you, right, little Chris, little Dre, little Alicia, little Jessima, little Kinsey. If you don't talk to that person will never re-inspire you to be greater. A lot of the times when you see older people who are complacent, is because they became old whoever they are. And they accepted becoming old whoever they are. But when that old person cannot find that young person will never inspire that old person. So sometimes when you talk to adults, you be like, you are old because of your ways, your beliefs. You become complacent, you become content. You got to relight that fire in that child. Remember, as a kid, you believe you could do anything. What happens is the adult who believes they can't do anything. Let me say that again. The child believes they can do anything. Then you get to an adult and you believe you can't do anything. You see the change? But what changed is the fact that the kid is not re-inspiring the adult. Yes, you may be older. Now you make wiser choices and decisions. But when you don't believe that you can do anything, you ultimately do nothing. And that's what a lot of us do, sustaining, maintaining, and being miserable. Mad at our lives to the point where we project it on our children. Some of us come home from the decisions we made and we hate the fact that the only person we could take it out on is our children. And what your children do is go take it back on society. There are a lot of children that are hurting because of their parents. And I'm going to say it truthful. Listen, my sister, you might have had a child young, but you do not have to make your child feel like they're going to have a child young because you did it. I will admit, I had my son when I was 17. And when he got around that age, I was very strict on him, to the point where I know he was being a little rebellious because of me being insecure about what I did young. And I started noticing it. One day, me and one of my guys was talking. He also had a child young, Face. And we were talking about it. And I'm like, yo, I thought I was the only one that felt like that. I started noticing like, yo, it's because he had a kid young and I had a kid young, we were scared that our kid was gonna have a kid young. So we were arguing with him, and he was arguing with his son because of the insecurity that he had. And I said, yo, that's crazy. So when I started realizing, look, wait, if I don't fix this about me, I'm gonna run my child away because how insecure I feel. So I've learned that in life, I think the best conversation someone can have, let's say hypothetically you never went to college, never got a degree, but you have a child. The best thing a parent can do is teach their child the hardship of not doing it. I always say to my kid, if you don't get a degree, you will have to use your physical labor to make you more money. But if you get a degree, you could use your mental labor to make you more money. So you gotta choose, do you want the physical labor or do you want the mental labor? I said the degree only pushes you in a position where you can use more mental labor opposed to physical labor. There are jobs with degrees that require manual labor. What I'm getting at is in most cases, a lot of the jobs are more mentally thinking when it comes to degrees, right? So I had to break it down to them. I said, if you don't have a skill or a degree, you're gonna have to do back-breaking work in order to sustain and maintain your life. So let's choose what you want. That's how I broke it down to him. I think sometimes when you take away the struggle, you create a weaker character. By you not being transparent with your children, you're actually creating a character that becomes delusional in the beliefs of thinking how life operates. So when we look at our kids, you gotta look at it like, wait, I'm trying to teach someone to be greater than me, but I have to show them where I messed up at. I gotta show them where I went wrong. You're trying to make them take better directions, but you're giving them the same directions you've taken. Because you're not showing them what's the hardship of making those same choices. So when you sit them down, you have to be transparent. I think any good parent is always willing to be transparent. Transparent, get it? Transparent. Someone said, I always keep it real with them. That's what I love, because when you're able to do that, you're able to exercise the understanding of logic. Another key thing with parents is being patient, right? You have to be patient. A lot of people aren't patient with their children, right? Remember, a child doesn't process everything you do. You know the best thing you could do? And I always say this, after you correct, you gotta go back, and after you check, you gotta go back and correct. So after you check the kid, you gotta go back and correct the kid. Now, this is how you do it, guys. I pray y'all listening to this, and I do this every day. After you check, you correct. And when you correct, you make them explain to you what different choice they could have made. So now they're giving themselves something called problem-solving skills. And by solving the problem, they're thinking different on the problem that they created. But if you don't make them create the solution to the problem, if you give them the answer, they didn't really hear you. But if you make them tell you, what could you have done different? And now when they understand it, it processes different. A child mind and an adult mind don't process things the same way. You get my premise? So when you look at an adult, right, who doesn't learn how to talk to a child, how to understand children, you ultimately still continue to behave like this. So I always tell you, right, it's always healthy to go to a child, when you check, correct. Tell them, what could you have done different? After you tell them how it made you feel, you let them express what they thought. You know, sometimes guys, when we check in, our kids didn't think the way we thought, but yet and still you think that they think like adults, but they didn't. Kids are very immature. Sometimes kids didn't think, you think a kid gonna play with an outlet thinking they're gonna get electrocuted? Right? They don't think, because sometimes most kids don't think past the second. So it's just dumb. But to us it's dumb because we know the consequences of it. Right? Sometimes we gotta allow our kids to touch the stove and see that's hot a little bit. I'm not talking about saving them from life or protecting them from themselves, but also understanding that they have to learn sometimes the hard way. It's just humans. Because you wouldn't be the person you are today without learning from your mistakes. So when we say the term patience, right, I gotta understand that I gotta give the person time to develop. I gotta give it time to understand. I gotta give it time to comprehend. Because it's one thing to have a conversation, but it's also different when the conversation is not coming back. There are people that can hear but not hear, because you're not speaking the language that they understand. Patience, remaining calm and composed in challenging situations, allowing their child to learn from their mistakes, allowing your child to learn from their mistakes, right? We have to allow them to learn. We have to give grace. You have to give grace. There are adults that we still have to give grace to. Because one thing you don't understand is everyone did not graduate with the same equivalency, even though they have the same equivalency. Everyone does not process information the same way, even though they look like they process information, right? Empathy, right? Understanding and relating to their children's feelings, right? Showing compassion and emotional support. I think the worst thing a parent can say is, when I grew up, I'm like, listen, y'all are not in the same generation. Today, one of my guys just said, if a kid is being cyberbullied, all he got to do is turn off the computer. But it's hard for them to turn off the computer because that's their main means of communication. Their social skills are a little different. The world operates where information is being traveled at a mile a second, right? So therefore, this is how they learn, right? So if you take away the tool that they consider a necessity, you automatically putting them on punishment. And this is what it is. I know kids that will get hit in my generation and probably wouldn't do it again. I know kids, if you take their phone away from them, they'll pass out. They'll pass out. Oh my God, my phone, right? I never heard cyberbullying. These are real terms, right? Active listening. Parents, and I say this with conviction, you must learn active listening. Paying full attention to their child and when they're speaking, validating their feelings. I think some adults don't even know this. Active listening. You can't listen and respond. You can't listen and respond, guys. So sometimes when you're able to sit down with your child, you'll learn your child a little bit more. There are parents that think they know their kids, but they don't know their kid. I know my kid. My kid ain't, you don't know your kid because your kid is one of the worst kids when they go to school. Your kid may act a certain way around you, but they do not act like that around their peers, right? Active listening. We must learn how to be an active listener, paying full attention to your child. And when they're speaking, validating their feelings, right? I think adults don't even know how to do that when it comes to having a conversation with someone else. They cannot validate it. For instance, right? I always tell people, if I have a discussion with you, can you, before you come with your response, can you just acknowledge, okay, I understand what you said, but what about this? Now we having dialogue because I feel like I'm being heard. And I am more conscious of hearing you because I feel like I'm going to acknowledge what I heard from you. So for instance, Dre, we having a conversation. I told you X, Y, Z, and you say, you know what, I understand. But what about this? Now I'm going to be more receptive of it because of the fact that you're receptive of hearing me. But it's hard to be receptive of someone I don't feel is hearing me. I've always tell people that if you're not hearing me, why would I hear you? You're not God. So I'm not going to hear you if you're not hearing me. If I'm telling you something that's bothering me and you only make it about you, that means you're clearly a narcissist. But let's keep talking. Supporting independence. I want everyone in my life to hear that word. Supporting independence, right? Encouraging their child to make their own decisions, right? And solving problems while providing guidance and needed. Listen to that again, Jessima, right? Encouraging their children to make their own decisions and solve problems while providing guidance when needed. See, when you pick a kid up when they fall down and nothing wrong with them, and you keep picking that kid up when they fall down and nothing wrong with them, you know what they do? They expect you to keep picking them up when nothing wrong with them. You create the problem. Yeah.
Okay, so in a classroom, we would consider that child an independent learner.
Okay.
Like that is how teachers are encouraged to teach, like productive struggle, allowing the child to come to their own answers and not just sort of giving it to them, right? Reading a text or going through a laboratory experiment and coming up with their own ideas and own thoughts.
Yes.
And it's hard because if they're not being taught some of those skills at home, it becomes almost impossible at a certain point, especially at the high school level, which is where I'm at, to instill that in kids. Like they are so used to having their hand held, right? And like it's supposed to be kind of middle school, right? Where that hand holding, especially in the classroom, is like you're loosening that grip.
Yes.
But oftentimes it's not happening. So I get ninth graders that are just sitting there like they're not even reading the instructions, the directions. They're just like, what am I supposed to do? They're not reading the board. You know what? I have students come in and late to class and they'll be like, what are we doing? I'm like, read the board, like, right? Like they're not even kind of getting used to routines. They're so like it's this like level of laziness and complacency and just sort of like I need information instantly that I think is also part of you know the technology, right, that they're using, the TikTok, the Instagram. Like it's these short videos, it's this instant like entertainment and information. Like it's I don't, you just see it in school and it's different, it's weird, and it makes it hard to kind of get them to a place where they are able to have their own thoughts and critical thinking skills. And it's kind of scary because it's like, what adults are we going to be left with? Like, how are we going to have future doctors and lawyers and engineers and, you know, professors, like people who really need these critical thinking skills in order to contribute to society and advance society and technology and all of these important medicine, all these important things. Like, I don't know. I'm sorry. I could.
No, but you're speaking facts. She's speaking bare facts. There's a meme, right? And I know you guys remember it. I think, I don't know the numbers he said. He said, but what's 9 plus 9? 9 plus 10. Okay, he said, what's 9 plus 10? Take the mic for a second, Chris. He said, what's 9 plus 10? What'd he say?
He said 21?
He said 21, right? Now, we laughed at that, right? Because it was considerably funny. But would it have worked out better if the person that said, what's 9 plus 10, when he got to 21, asked him, how did he get to 21? The conversation would have been a lot different if you would have sat him that said, what made you come to this number? Are you just rambling numbers? Are you using your problem-solving skills, your numbers, right? Because a lot of kids, they can't even do math in their head. They need a calculator, right? A lot of these kids can't even write in script, right? We take away a lot of the struggles because a lot of these kids are being raised by tablets. They're being raised by computers. They're being raised by TVs. There are a lot of people that say, I watch my kid all day, but in reality, the tablet is what watch your kid all day. Right? Miss Rachel watches your kid all day. For y'all don't know, that's a YouTube channel. Ryan's Toy Review is what watch your kid all day. Right? Power Rangers are watching your kids all day. Right? I said that for you, just so you know that. Supporting independence, guys. Encouraging a child to make their own decisions and solve problems while providing guidance when needed. There are a lot of parents that when a kid falls and cries, they pick the kid up and the kid becomes looking for that the rest of their life. Becoming adults who believe that the world is supposed to compliment me whining. Kick them in the butt and say, go figure it out. Don't really kick them in the butt, but you get what I'm saying. Because the world is going to be like that. If they late to work, they'll still look at it like, I'm late to work. But you're yelling at me, you shouldn't be doing this. This is where you meet those people. That's where they come from. They come from those parents that allowed them to be like that. No accountability, right? Parents, we play a major part when creating the next generation of people. We play a major part, right? Positive reinforcement. Positive reinforcement, right? Listen, praising a child for their achievements and efforts to build their self-esteem. We definitely have to tell our children they're beautiful. We definitely got to tell our sons they're handsome, right? And just because your son is 19, 20, 21, 25, he still want to hear from his mother, you are so handsome. He want to hear from his mother, or she wants to hear from her mother, you are so beautiful. A daughter still wants to hear from her dad that you are still gorgeous. Because I'm going to tell you something, in most cases, a daughter's first love is her father. A son's first love is his mother. So if you have a good mother or father, just know you're competing with that good mother and good father. Because the standard was already set. And where there's no dad, there's no standards. And where there's no mother, there is no standards. And this is where we have children who have bad standards because they come from weak foundational parents. A child cannot walk in my house with a 65 and think they passed. You're telling your child to be the bottom of the barrel when it comes to grades, and you accept that as being an accepting thing. There's a difference when your child struggles in a subject, and you know they struggle in a subject and they work hard to get that 65. That's a start. I'm proud of you. Because you know, one day my son brought a 75. My son's worst subject was math. He was horrible at math, right? And it was always how you create the problem to get to the number. The steps. He always forget the steps, right? And I accepted it. I got him tutoring. I worked with him. One day he brought home a 75. I gave him a hug. I kissed him on the forehead. He said, "You're not mad at me?" I said, "You was getting 65s and 68s. This is growth, right? This is growth." I was like, "I'm proud of your growth because initially you wasn't getting this." And I think as parents, we got to understand that everyone falls short. Everyone has shortcomings. They're weak at certain assets and aspects in life. We have to acknowledge it, right? Every kid is not made to go to college. Every kid is not a college graduate. But every kid can get a skill, right? Whether your daughter's skill might be doing hair, your kid's skill might be a mechanic, her skill might be a doctorate from a college. Everyone is not made to be a doctor. It's like having somebody that got their hands shake when they touched in surgery, they're scared of blood, and you're talking about being a doctor. It's not for you. It's not for you. But sometimes what happens as parents, we try to live to our children because of what we wish we could have did. I think the number one thing you could do is raise a better person than you were. I think that's the win. When you raise someone more productive, more positive, more reassured, more everything, then you'll see that you've done great as a parent. It's not because of the level of money they make, because you can have a doctor who hates being a goddamn doctor. That is the worst thing, to have a doctor who don't want to be a doctor. Or a lawyer who don't want to be a damn lawyer and only chose to be a goddamn lawyer because my mother wanted to be a lawyer and she didn't do it, so guess what? I had to do it. And my dad didn't want to, he wanted to be a fireman and he didn't do it, so now he want me to be a fireman. Now you got a miserable person going to miserable work, being a miserable person because they're miserable at their miserable job. You ever been somewhere and you be like, damn, I didn't make you apply for this job? Are you rude as hell? I wonder why. Because that person clearly does the job for just the economics. They do not love what they do, right? And that started off at childhood because we procreate everything about money, 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 but not happy, 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 happy. Sometimes less is more. Well, we've been told to have more is better, but a lot of people cannot even handle the more that comes with having more. You can't even eat the food that's on your plate, but you're still trying to put more on it. Damn, you greedy. Right? Damn. Setting boundaries, establishing clear rules and expectations to assure their child's safety and well-being. Listen, you should not be compromising your standards as a parent. This is your standard, right? You got to set healthy boundaries. There's no way a child should be talking back to any adult. I don't give a damn. That's like, you right now, you says right now, imagine your kid come home. Dad, the teacher don't like me. You know what my first question is? You must be doing something for the teacher not to like you. Some of these parents want to go to school and jump on the teacher. When you know your kid is a goddamn liar. You know your kid is horrible. You know your kid is in the streets. Let's get out of denial. You know who your child is. Stop pretending. A lot of us are done. You ever met somebody that said the kid is bad, not bad and he bad as hell? What do you mean your kid not bad? Only a blind person can't see your kid ain't bad. Your kid is bad. Like Michael Jackson bad. And he off the wall. Reality, right? Adaptability, right? Adjusting parenting strategies as their child grows and develop. We have to adjust to parenting, to understanding that giving more freedom, right, as the freedom is earned, right? Parents, you can't always be in your child's business too, right? You got to give him room or her room to make certain decisions. Because I'm going to tell you something. When you do not give space, you create curiosity, right? And when you create curiosity, you're more inclined to teach a child to make poor decisions, right? Think about it. Don't open that box. But you don't sit them down and say, hey, let me explain to you why you shouldn't open that box. You're creating curiosity, right? Self-awareness. Recognizes that their own limits and seek help when needed, right? Self-awareness. You got to be aware. Knowing your child has shortcomings, right? They have shortcomings. Prioritizing their child's needs. Making sacrifices to ensure their child's well-being, even when it means putting your own needs aside. Remember I said this last week. There was a woman that moved to Florida with the kid away from the dad and said she was making a decision because it was the best thing for her child. So I'm asking you, Justin, I want you to answer this question. Do you think that her moving to Florida away from a healthy, enabling dad, that's a good man, away from the dad, was a decision for the child or was it a decision for the mother?
I don't know the full argument of the mother's side, but I think, yeah, if it wasn't necessary for the mother's career or like, I don't know, there wasn't some sort of emergency calling them there, it's better to keep the child close to the father so that, you know, they can establish that bond and have the father present in their life and
so let me ask you the next question.
Example of a man, yeah.
Let's say hypothetically you did do it because of your career, furthering your career. You think your kid gonna give a damn about your career when they didn't have the relationship with their father?
I think if the mom's in an economical position that's, you know, leading to the quality of the child's life dropping, like, maybe. But if the mother can find a way to, you know, sustain the child's life economically near the dad, like, obviously that's going to be better. I think it's nuanced. It's a hard thing, yeah.
Let me ask you another question before you pass it. Matter of fact, give it to Kinsey. What did you get on your 16th birthday? Do you recall or do you remember?
think I got a pat on the back.
You got a pat on the back? What did you get on your 12th birthday?
12th?
Don't make up nothing. If you remember, you remember. If you don't, you
remember.
don't. You don't remember?
No.
What is the most prominent date of your mother? What she made you? How she made you feel?
Most prominent day?
Yes. Something she did that made you feel amazing.
Like she was really proud of you.
I'm thinking. Give me shit.
You
Sorry.
graduated college.
Yeah, when I graduated, when I got my bachelor's.
Okay, when you got your bachelor's, what day was that?
2018.
2018? May 2018?
Yes.
What I just got, and you proved my point, we don't remember nothing that has to do with money, but we remember moments that are impactful, that mean everything to us. I can ask you 1,000 questions about things your mother has done to you or family members that impacted your life. You will remember all those moments. But purchases, you won't really remember them. They fade. So there's nothing that woman could explain to me to make sense of moving a child away from a father when it comes to economics, when realistically you can get your kid a bubble gum. You know what that kid gonna say one day? I remember every day me and my dad walked to the store and got a piece of bubble gum. She's not gonna say, I remember my dad bought me a G-Class jet, a Ferrari, a Lamborghini. She's gonna be like, look, there's a story you say. I remember when my dad used to bring me this thing every single day. No one gives a damn when you get older. No one remembers money. Only America has pushed this mentality where everything is all about money and not memories. I remember a picture me, Adriel, and Kinsey took in the shop years ago. I still have that picture. I still have that picture. Because that picture meant so much to me. Because you didn't know, that's when I was about to buy the barbershop. Yes, I was in the process of buying the barbershop. That picture means so much to me. Because again, Gene told me that week he want to sell it. But I remember the memories of the people coming in the shop. I didn't want to let the shop go. And I love the ambiance and the atmosphere of the barbershop. So what I'm getting at is people don't remember money. They remember moments. So parents, we got to understand that being a good parent is about creating moments. It's not giving money in economics. There's nothing a parent can tell me, oh, I put us in a mansion. So what? My dad wasn't there. You removed him out of my life for money. I'm not proud of it, right? It takes two to raise a functional adult. It takes two to raise a functional adult, right? House, right? It takes two to raise a functional adult. But sometimes we look at things as it's about what I want, but it's not about what our children need. Let me say that again. A lot of times as parents, we look for what we want, but it's not about what's the best decision for our child. I'm gonna tell you a quick story before we get out of here today. There was a young man, and I cut his mother's hair, I cut the dad's hair, and I cut the son's hair. So it's three. The mother and father started having problems. The mother started getting a lot of attention. She lost a lot of weight, which she started looking amazing, right? She started getting a lot of attention to the point where she stopped valuing her husband. And she used to talk crazy about her husband. And I used to be like, damn, he loved you like that. And now you look like this, you're forgetting about him. Anyway, she started going to the gym. She started talking to her trainer. And as she started talking to her trainer, she started catching feelings for the trainer. Because now she was getting attention from people that never looked at her. So it was going to her head. And I was trying to tell her, he's not for the right reasoning. I'm telling you because when you were heavy, he never tried to talk to you. I said, it's not the right reasoning. If you don't love me at my worst, don't love me at my best. And I was trying to explain that to her. She didn't want to hear it. Fast forward, she decided to get a divorce. And when she got a divorce, I told her, what are you going to do? She goes, hey, it is what it is. I'm going to move to Brooklyn with my mom, and me and my son going to move to Brooklyn. He going to go wherever the hell he going to go. We selling the house. I said, I don't think you should do that. I said, I think you should give your child the time to finish this environment while that frontal is fully developing. I said, he's not mature enough. He's heavy on the following. But if you give him tougher kids, he's going to make worse decisions. She didn't want to hear me. You don't know what you're talking about. My mom is there, plus my brother, we can help him. And everything was about this new feeling that she was getting and not the thoughts of her child, right? Fast forward. She breaks up with the husband, get a divorce, moves to her mother. They sell the house. The husband moves into his friend's basement in the same town. He stays there while rebuilding himself, right? I promise you, my mouth to God's ears, the kid lasted in Brooklyn a year, and he got charged with robbery, right? And this is a kid that was in a suburban area, kind of trying to pretend to be a thug, but he wasn't a thug. At least he was dealing with fake thugs. But the mother put him around real thugs, which made him make tougher decisions. And ultimately, the kid ended up getting charged and had to do 10 years in prison, right? Pistol whipped the girl, robbed her, everything, right? So one day when I seen the mother, I said, your personal feelings trumped you being a mother. Because that was the worst decision at that time as a parent. Sometimes in life, when you look at life as a parent, it's about always doing what's best for the child. When you say you genuinely love something, you put yourself on a back burner for what's right for your child. I remember times where my son will come home and I'll have one hamburger and I'm starving and my son is staring at the burger. I will give him the damn burger because of the fact that my son is hungry. I would rather starve to make sure my children are full. I would rather work till my feet bleed to make sure my family have a proper roof over their head. This is what makes a great parent a great parent. When you put away the I, the me, and understand it's about the we. This is the great parents. What society is telling us as parents, you gotta live your best life. You gotta do you. It's all about having fun and not about helping our children. So let me say this before I get out of here today, guys. If you're a good parent, you will always put your children first and what's the best decision for your child. Never mind if my girl or your man wasn't a good husband to you or a boyfriend, or a good wife or a good girlfriend, that person could be a great parent. Till next time, guys, don't let that go over your head.